What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Workshop 1776. I'm Jack. Today we're drinking Ninkasi Brewing Company, Dawn of the Red. That's cool. We're building this. Okay guys, so today's project was built back in July, and it is December right now, but it was for someone who was going to be surprised with it. I've been keeping it under wraps until he got it, delivered. He got the surprise or whatever. So I filmed this video back in July, and I think it was the second thing I ever filmed. So I missed a lot of stuff. But that's okay. We'll just show like the process of whatever. But fair warning, I did miss a lot of things just because it was one of the first things that I filmed, and I wasn't quite familiar with the process yet. Today's project, which I obviously don't have with me, is a barbecue like side table kind of thing with storage and like a removable tray for utensils and things. It's for a Marine who is a barbecue aficionado. He barbecues things all the time, so hopefully he'll enjoy it. And again, I'm sorry I don't have it with me, but it was picked up months ago, and I didn't want to do any social media or videos or anything until he'd received it. All right, so the plan for this was to use 1 by 6, 1 by 5, 1 by 4, 1 by 6, 1 by 6, I think. I'm good 1 by 6. Yeah, 1 by 6 pine common board as like slats basically to build a box that's about 30 inches tall, and I think it's 20 inches wide or something like that, 25 inches wide. Right here, I'm just making sure I'm trimming off the edges so they're all the exact same length, or the boards are the exact same width. So when they stack up, they'll all be the exact same height, and I won't have any like mismatch or anything like that, and the seams will run all the way around the side. I put them through my planer just to make sure that they're the same thickness, and that way there's no varying thicknesses when you're looking straight down onto the top of it. It'll all be the exact same width, even though we're using slats. So the idea here was to basically just build a frame out of 1 by 2s and just glue and brad nail the slats onto the 1 by 2s, and that would basically make the two sides of the box. And once I had these set, they're all ready to go, or once I built these, it was pretty easy to just take the next sections, the next slats, and just slap them onto the sides, ensuring that they're at a 90-degree angle. So basically I built 2 walls, and then I just put the connectors in, and that makes a box. Yeah, so right here you can see where I'm using glue and brad nails. Oh, a mistake I made early on that was I was using Type-On 2 for the first wall I made, which Type-On 2 is water resistant, and since this is probably going to be outside, I decided to switch over to Type-On 3 because it's completely waterproof. But I only had a handful of boards glued up with the Type-On 2, and I don't think it's going to be a big deal. It's also not going to be in direct rain or anything like that. So, but definitely for outdoor projects, you should be using Type-On 3, which is what I ended up switching to. All right, here, so I got that third wall up, and now I'm trying to get the fourth one on there, and you can see how the side closest to us is still free, and I'm using a clamp just to kind of bring it into square a little bit so I can apply the glue and then just kind of like force it into square basically, and then brad nail it into place. The brad nails will hold it until the glue dries, that way I don't have to figure out some crazy way to like clamp this thing down while the glue dries. Especially with Type-On 3, because it has a lot longer open time, it would have to sit there for quite a lot longer for the glue to dry. Now I'm using a, hello? I'm getting scammed. Okay, so I'm using like a janky clamp setup. I don't even know what I was doing here. The blue clamp is just, the blue clamp on the top is just to bring all the boards together, because they had a little bit of like twist and bow in them. So I just brought them all together, that way they wouldn't be going all over the place. And And then that weird one on the bottom was to push out the vertical piece that's closer to me, just to push it out a little bit because it had, for some reason, had come out of square a little bit. So I was just using that to get it more in line so it was easier to nail down the other side, and then I could just move to the other side and brad nail it in place. It was super janky, but it worked out great. It looked kind of dumb, but whatever. So one side ended up having a couple of gaps, so I just used wood filler. And now I'm just marking out the location for the removable tray. And this is basically just an open box on the top. And I made a little jig. So I used my woodpecker square, which I talk about all the time. This guy right here. I used this little guy, just put him onto my workbench. What's happening? Stop. I put him onto my workbench, and then I just took 2 pieces of wood and then brad nailed them to the workbench. And that way I had a perfect 90-degree angle that I could set the sides of the boxes into. That way I knew that I was basically making a right angle joint, or a right angle jig, using the clamp just to secure it a little bit. I also use glue and brad nails on the box as well, just butt joints. I'm just sanding it down here to get it as even as possible. And if you're gonna use a wood filler, you definitely need to sand it down because it makes sure, just because it leaves kind of a messy finish, but it's designed to be sanded down. I'm just ripping plywood over at the table saw for the bottom of the tray. I initially meant to route out a channel for the tray at the bottom to sit in, but I forgot to do it. I glued it in without it, so that's fine. It looks fine, so it's not a big deal. The tray is hidden inside, and we ended up painting it. Glue and brad nails once again. All right, so here this is one of the parts I forgot to film. So I stained it with Varathane, where are ya? Early American? Nope, not that one. Nope. This one. All right, Varathane Early American. I mentioned it before in a couple videos. It's my wife's favorite stain. We put it on a lot of stuff in our house. I think it looks really, really good. But yeah, I basically used a foam brush and a rag, and I just wiped it on, or painted it on and then wiped it off. I only did 1 coat, I think. All right, so here, the guy who received this is a staff sergeant. So I went to my friend who does all my laser engraving for the flags and like all the other stuff I've made. And he had these 1/8 inch, I don't know, like dyed, I don't know what they are, like dyed plywood boards, I guess, that he can cut through with his laser. And he cut out the Marine Corps Staff Sergeant symbol, which is that big one on the bottom, and then his name that on the top. So what we ended up doing was just adding some super glue, which this is Gorilla Glue. And the reason I use the Gorilla Glue clear stuff, it's the same stuff I have over there, is because it doesn't expand. So there's no room for error with this kind of stuff, because if I put like the regular Gorilla Glue or something like that, it expands, it kind of like foams out, and I didn't want that to like seep out of the side. So I ended up just putting the regular super glue on there, or like the clear super glue or whatever, because it doesn't expand at all. And it was really clean, there was no squeeze out or anything like that, so it worked out really well. One thing I would do, if you guys are doing any kind of like, you know, stencils or something like that for engraving or whatever, definitely make sure that the piece is fully free from the piece of wood that it was cut out of. Because you can see right there, I had a lot of pieces that I had to like break off and then cut with a razor blade, which ended up being okay because it broke in the correct direction, but it's definitely could have damaged the staff sergeant insignia if it had broken in the opposite direction. So I should have made sure it was free of the original piece. But yeah, and then I just put a shop towel on it with some bricks to let it, or cement, you know, blocks, whatever, as a clamp, basically, brick clamp again. Did the same thing with his name, and it was super helpful to keep, so I have it right here still actually. It's dirty. So it was super helpful to keep all of the letters inside here because I knew the spacing was correct, and as long as I could make sure that this portion and this portion were at the correct angle to the side of the box, like a right angle to the side of the box, then I knew the entire thing was gonna look straight. If I had taken them all out and tried to just put them on piecemeal, then especially with the glue, then the chances that they came out in a perfectly straight line would have been pretty low probably. So definitely, if you're gonna do something like this, keep like the original piece of wood, and then just make sure to apply glue to just the letters, get them all on there, and then pull the stencil, I guess, off, and that way it'll keep them from sliding around, it'll keep all that stuff, and it'll look a lot more professionally done rather than like if you just like stuck them all on there. Okay, so here's a couple other things that we missed. You can see right there that I had so right now I'm using my Graco sprayer, which I bought for this project because it's such a big piece, and I knew I needed to put a lot of coats of polyurethane on there since it was going to be outside, and I wasn't using a typical outside lumber like cedar or something like that. So I put a ton of coats of polyurethane on there, the outdoor one, and I also got I made a lid right there that you can see that's sitting down, or it's sitting on the sheeting or whatever that is, plastic sheeting, and I had the Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor engraved onto it. That was done off camera just because it ended up being more of a logistical problem to get the right size and all that stuff. So that's one of the things that I missed. Sorry about that. But it has the EGA on there, and then I also painted the tray. And well, my wife actually did. So I used colors that would resemble the Marine Corps dress blues, which is that like scarlet red and that deep navy blue. And right here, I'm just adding little handles. So basically this thing sits down into the box. So you put your like tray, your utensils or whatever you're gonna use for the barbecue, like, spatula or tongs or whatever, on there, and then you can just lift it out of the box, put it somewhere else, and then you have access to the rest of the storage, which would be like charcoal or extra propane or whatever you had that will fit down into the bottom. So right here, I'm just adding 2 leather straps that I got from Hobby Lobby or Michael's or something like that, with washers and just regular old like 1/4-inch screws. And that worked out a lot better than I anticipated originally, because I thought I was having a problem trying to figure out how I was going to do the handles, but we found these little straps and it worked out perfectly. Okay, so these hinges, so you can kind of see a better like view of the EGA on top of the box. So the hinges here are outdoor like gate hinges, which they're much more heavy duty than something you would need for, or they're much heavier duty than something like that you would need for something like this, just because the lid is not very heavy at all. But I thought it looked really cool having like the big like oversized hinges. So we went with those. We debated like spray painting or painting the screws black, which I think would have looked cool, but I kind of liked how they looked just silver or whatever that is, the normal color. And then unfortunately, hello? It's Emily with the student loan forgiveness people again. Scam! Okay, so unfortunately, because I bought these without really thinking, you can see that the top hole for the screw is basically right along the crease of the end of the lid and the beginning of the box. So I ended up just putting 2 screws in the bottom 2, which was fine. It just, there's one without screws in it, which is, it's okay, it provides enough strength. If I had only had 1 screw hole, like if it was only 2, the top 2 ones on there, I would have gone back and bought new hinges for this, but it was fine. It's plenty strong. Like I said, they're overkill for this box. And that's it. Pretty simple. We also had the inside of the box engraved with a quote from the guys at his command that bought this for him. But yeah, that's it. So like I said, sorry that I don't have it here with me and that I missed a couple of steps along the way. This was a pretty special project. I was really like honored to be able to work on it. It was for a really good dude who'd spent a lot of time in his previous command, and everyone just loves him. So I was pretty excited that I was, picked to make his going away gift. Channel update. We're in like rapid fire mode for some videos because I've had some like this one that have been filmed and I just have been waiting to release basically. So this one's coming out. I put one out yesterday. I'm putting another one out on Saturday. Today is Thursday. Yeah, today's Thursday. And I'm putting another one out on Saturday or Sunday, and then this one will come out as soon as I'm done editing, which is probably gonna be like Monday or so. So I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. If you guys have any suggestions for videos, I know we're gonna make a palette wine rack deal, which I made. It's on my Instagram. If you guys want to see that, let me know. It'd be cool. That's one of like the free projects that pretty much anybody can do. It's like really low amount of tools, and the palettes you can get either for really cheap or for free if you know someone who has access to them. And then I'm also gonna make a knife display box with a friend of mine. That's all I have lined up for right now. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know, and I will definitely consider all options and see if we can make hopefully all of the things you guys suggest. That'd be really cool. So thanks again for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I think my last video I said we're at like 1,350 subscribers, which is fantastic. I never thought it would take off this fast. We started a Patreon, so if you guys are into that, that's there. Got some extra stuff on there, so check that out. It's like on my little YouTube banner. Patreon's doing we're gonna do like monthly giveaways, and there's extra content, and I'm gonna ask questions. It's gonna be like my test audience basically for the videos. So definitely go over there and check that out. There's something else I forgot to say. I'll figure it out and I'll tell you in the next video. Okay, beer review. Ninkasi Brewing Company, Dawn of the Red IPA. That's good, I like it.